All right, Copper Cutlass here. Take 3. So, last video I made, you guys remember we had stuff happen, go wrong at the track. Wife got hurt. It's going to be a lengthy road to recovery. But I managed to get out here last night for a couple of hours and got some work done on the car. And I'm going to explain why in a minute. But most importantly, my wife's doing good. I've been pulling double duty, so like after work, I, take care of her, cook dinner, do all that good stuff that, she usually does for me. I got to do that for her. And just like she's taken care of me in the past when I've been hurt, I got to repay that. So either way, got that out of the way. I don't want you guys to think that I'm going to go out and race. We talked about it, and she's cool about it. And, we do have her sister helping us out, which is huge. So that's also, I'm very thankful for that. Our first points race is in 15 days, so we got plenty of time to get this stuff done. I got the car home last weekend, late. Big thank you to Dave the Freak. If you guys know who he is, he's a hardcore olds guy, awesome cylinder head guy, really good friend of mine. And when my wife got hurt, I dropped off my car and my trailer, loaded on there at his place. And, I went back on Monday, threw a car cover over it, distributor fired it up. You guys saw that video. And that's how the car ended up dirty. That car cover was really fucking dusty. And as you can see, I got a list. There's no oil in the engine. I got to check lash, defuck the distributor. Big shout out to JJ. He was the first person to tell me to check the distributor, make sure that roll pin didn't go. And he was right. He was the first one who said it. Within like an hour, I was still in the hospital with my wife. I'm going to get a new oil pump shaft, a hardened one. I got to go through the carb just to make sure everything's good, because the last time I went through it, I found that one of the emulsion bleeds, restrictors, I should say, wasn't there. So it either worked its way out and it just fell because I didn't remove the carburetor when I rejetted it. But luckily I had one that was really close. I popped it in there and it should be good, but I want to make sure that that's all good. So I'm just going to go through the carburetor again. The gaskets are getting iffy, so I'm going to put new gaskets on the bowls and the metering block. I'm going to get new plug wires. Obviously, new oil, new filter, new O2 sensor. I got to wash the car because she a dirty hole. And most importantly, I got to get a haircut. So, but I say why most importantly is because I look like a homeless landscaper. And I am Mexican, so I fit the bill. And we also got new slicks on the car. Lieutenant Dan ain't got no legs. These are 28x9 Goodyear Dragway Specials, DO5s. I picked them up today from the shop. We are running them with tubes. They should work. My buddy Mike, with a 1050 G-body, small block Chevy powered Olds. He ran Olds for years. Don't grill the man. He ran mid-10s doing the G-body shuffle with stock suspension on this very same tire. I shouldn't have a problem. At least I don't think I should have a problem. So the reason why I came out here last night to do some work is to obviously take the carb off to go through it on a bench, take the distributor off, which I'll touch on that in a bit. I want to check valve lash. I checked a couple that were in sequence, and the valve lash is still at 22, which is what I set it to. I sent the headers to my buddy because I built this motor kind of loose, and we get a little bit of blow-by. Obviously, when I put the vacuum gauge on it, it's pretty steady, so we don't have any major issues. But we get a lot of spent gases coming out of the open breathers. As you guys know, I run my open element breathers with slop socks, and she kind of, smokes like a freight train a little bit. So we're going to put an evac setup on it with the, the nipples that go into the nipples that go into the headers. My buddy set it all up, welded it. We put an O2 bung on the headers as well because I keep killing O2 sensors, and I think it's my placement because it's after the collector and really close to the exhaust cutout. So I think that fresh air contamination into the O2 sensor is actually killing it. And by killing it, I mean at that point in the header, that oxygen is, how can I say this? It's like when you put oxygen into fire. It makes it hotter. So I think I keep burning O2 sensors because of that introduction of fresh air into it. And the new one already is starting to give me problems. So we put O2 bungs, or he did. I dropped it off today. He's already done. I got to pick him up tomorrow. That, and then we're going to run our evac setup. Now, I do run an exhaust on this car, but there's a simple way around that for the street. Not a big deal. I just got to run pretty much a splitter valve on them to run at the track. Somebody can chime in on that if they actually ran an evac system with exhaust. I'm talking about the one that pulls it, draws it through the exhaust. Some people say that the exhaust will pressurize it, but it's supposed to be like a one-way valve. There's a lot of bullshittery on that subject, and I got a simple solution. If it is a problem, and if it's not, well, then we're just going to run it. But either way, that's why we came out here. To take the headers off, have my buddy do them. I drained the oil. It looked pretty good. Still a pretty fresh engine, so we're getting really, really fine glitter. I mean, we put 7 passes on this car the last time out, and we put 5 on it the time before. So this engine pretty much has 15 passes on it and maybe 20 street miles. So it's still pretty fresh. So yeah, let's move on to the distributor. So a couple of things. I got 2 aftermarket ones here. The one where the roll pin failed is from Performance Distributors in Memphis, Tennessee. DUI, Davis Unified Ignition. And here we got fucking Channel Main fucking eBay special $50 distributor, which actually is just as old as this one. I've had this forever. It's never been bad. It's always worked. But I've also been told that this shim here should not be here on an Olds. And I have a stock one here out of a stock engine where it's not, But I've also been told that the stability of this shaft is also very important for timing, which we've never really had any issues with bouncy timing or anything. I think one of the reasons why the roll pin took a shit is, if you guys remember, in one of my older videos, I talked about how this flange never really bottomed out on the block. Obviously, we have an O-ring that's supposed to seal from oil coming out, but as I'm tightening it, it's pushing the whole assembly into the block. And if you guys remember, I put my phone in there and showed you guys what it looks like. The base where that gear is supposed to actually ride on to stabilize was grooved. It's been milling itself. And I think that has a lot to do with my problem. This distributor has seen a lot of abuse. It's been in quite a few engines of mine, and I think it was just its time. Now, this hole does look just a hair oblonged, so I think my theory is quite possibly correct, maybe not. But either way, I'm going to pretty much clean up the stock one, put all of the DUI electronic components into it, and do that for starters. And then eventually I'm going to put an MSD in it. I don't want to change too many things all at once. I still have to figure out the tune. Now, I know the tune is getting really close because we were starting to get ETs that were matching what we were doing last fall. And it was a really, really nice day, way nicer than in the fall. In the fall, it was a 35-degree day. And it was actually a really warm day. That day at the track, it was in the 60s. It was, first day of April. It was really nice. And our first pass, this thing was popping and coughing. It was a little lean. So we went up 4 jet sizes and we were going in the right direction. But we were also fighting traction issues, which is why we have different slicks now. It could have been the track. I think the sidewalls are just beat out of these things. In the one picture, it looks like the sidewalls are just folding in. But I'm going to bring them with me anyway, and we're going to see if they still got life left in them. Maybe it was just a track prep. It was the first day the track was open, so it was the same thing last year. Didn't matter. Cart and hook. There wasn't one single good pass. Just like last year. Surprise, surprise. That track is notorious for that. But either way, our best pass was an 1172 at 113 with a 162 60 foot, which kind of matches exactly what the car did in the fall. So we know that the tune is going in the right direction, considering that the weather was probably about 25 degrees warmer. It's a little on the fat side. I may have to lean it out, but again, we were having problems, but I know that as far as where the car was going, I think we're good. Now, the popping that you guys heard on the top end, I was told was my ignition system pretty much taking a shit. Now, there is a couple of things that I noticed when I took the cap off. The button under the coil is actually quite beat up. So we are going to get a new cap, new rotor. I think the coil's still fine. If not, I got that other cap, another coil. I got quite a few parts to choose from. Like, that is not an issue at all. And most of the stuff is pretty good. But at minimum, we're going to get a cap and rotor, put a button in it, be fine. So there's that. But the game plan is to rebuild the stock one. And by rebuild, I mean just clean it up, because the bushings and all that stuff in there are good. Big shout out to Dave Worthington for sending me that. He picked out the best one. It doesn't look the greatest, but it should work out for what is needed. So we got 15 days to make it happen. We're going to test on Saturday and then race on Sunday. And if not, then we got to at least stage to get some points and make a run. And then we'll have about a month before our second race, which will give us more time to finesse things out. This engine seems to be running good. The fact that we're still trapping the same ET or mile an hour wise tells me that things are still good. This motor is running good, and I think it just needs finesse. We had a lot of little issues going on that were not ideal, and the fact that we ran an 1172 spinning kind of tells you a lot. So I think we probably would have ran another 1150. The 60 foot isn't quite there, but the car was pretty much spinning right off the hit. So I think if this car 60 foot's in the 11.5 range, because this car ran an 1158 at Indy with a 156 60 foot, and it ran an 1158 with a 162 in the fall. So if we get that 60 foot in the right direction, this thing's going to really pick up. At least that's what I'm thinking. But video's long enough. I'll let you guys go. Share, like, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram as Copper Cutlass. Stay tuned. We got stuff coming up as much as I can do. Again, taking care of my wife is first and foremost the most important thing I got to be doing. I'm lucky to be out here. It's Saturday night, 7 o'clock. I'm calling it a day. I'm going to go inside and hang out. So we'll see you guys later.